The void outside the shuttle was absolute, a black nothingness that stretched farther than the mind could measure. Tiny shards of dying stars flickered like distant sparks, barely illuminating the hulking silhouette of the derelict vessel drifting silently ahead. It shouldn't have been there. At least, not in any charted star system. Its hull was scarred and pockmarked, streaked with the remnants of long-ago collisions. And yet, despite the apparent ruin, it exuded a strange presence, as if the ship itself was aware of the small human craft approaching. Captain Elias Marlowe tightened his grip on the control stick, eyes scanning the readings. No life signs, no power readings beyond faint residual energy. Yet his instruments whispered an anomaly, subtle harmonic, almost like a heartbeat, buried within the ship's hull. He leaned closer to the console, the shuttle's cabin lights casting shadows across his focused face. "Elias, you're being paranoid," he muttered to himself, though even his voice sounded small against the endless backdrop of stars. Still, the hum persisted, growing louder as he neared the airlock. The shuttle docked with a slow, deliberate hiss, the clamps engaging as if the ship had been waiting. Elias exhaled sharply, trying to steady the sudden tightness in his chest. Nothing should have responded. Nothing should have moved, and yet the airlock door slid open. No command from him, no systems activating from the shuttle. Just a slow, mechanical sigh that echoed down the corridor inside. Elias froze. He felt a chill, though the shuttle's interior was perfectly temperate. His heart pounded not from fear of the cold, but from the uncanny awareness that the ship wasn't dead. It was waiting, watching. He stepped inside. The corridors twisted in impossible angles, metal panels bending light strangely, reflecting his image back at him in fractured shards. Each step he took caused a faint ripple through the hull, like the ship was testing his presence, gauging him. Alien glyphs etched along the walls pulsed faintly, reacting to the sound of his boots. Every echo of his voice seemed to draw the ship's attention, subtle vibrations shifting beneath his feet. "Hello," his voice cracked slightly. "Is anyone here?" The response was a low vibration that thrummed through the floor, almost like a whisper in his chest. The corridors shifted subtly, narrowing in some places, widening in others, guiding him deeper. Every instinct screamed caution, but curiosity, a very human curiosity, pushed him forward. Ahead, the corridor opened into a chamber that stretched far beyond the limits his sensors could calculate. The ceiling shimmered with metallic filigree that reflected distant starlight, and at its center hovered what looked like a command console, old yet impossibly intact. Elias approached, reaching out a gloved hand to touch it. The moment he spoke aloud, naming the ship, the console flickered an abrupt pulse of light that seemed to acknowledge him. It was alive. Not alive like a crew member, not alive like a machine running on predictable commands. This ship, it was aware, and somehow it recognized him. Elias swallowed hard, his pulse quickening. The realization hit like a shockwave. He was no longer exploring a derelict. He had stumbled into something that had been waiting, patient, silent, and listening. The first step had been taken, and in the darkness, as the corridors pulsed in response to his voice, he understood the chilling truth. The ship wasn't empty. It was waiting for him, and whatever came next would test more than his skill. It would test his very humanity. The corridors seemed to breathe as Elias moved deeper into the ship. Metal panels curved impossibly, reflecting light that shouldn't exist, twisting reality just enough to make him doubt his own eyes. Each step produced a low hum, almost musical, resonating through the soles of his boots. It wasn't just a ship, it was a living presence, attentive and aware. He paused before a wall etched with alien glyphs, their shapes shifting ever so slightly. When he spoke, "Can you hear me?" His voice trembled, despite his effort to sound steady. The glyphs pulsed in response. A faint vibration ran along the floor, then the walls, then up his spine. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was undeniable. The ship was listening. Elias swallowed hard. He crouched to examine the floor panels, noticing small seams that suggested hidden compartments. A soft click echoed as he tapped the floor. With his hand, one panel slid open slowly, revealing a dark recess containing what looked like an alien artifact, a delicate sphere of glass and metal, glowing faintly with internal light. As he picked it up, the corridors reacted. The walls shifted, narrowing and then expanding, almost hurting him forward. His pulse quickened. The ship wasn't random. It wasn't abandoned. It was guiding him, or perhaps testing him. "Who built you?" he whispered, holding the sphere before him. The light inside the orb brightened, then dimmed, synchronized with the subtle vibration of the floor. A sound emerged from the walls, a low, harmonic hum that coalesced into what almost felt like a language. Not words, not commands. More like recognition. Elias took a cautious step forward, raising his voice slightly, speaking naturally. "I'm human. I come in peace," the ship answered, or at least, it reacted. Corridors that had appeared empty stretched endlessly, folding in on themselves before opening into new pathways. Holographic panels flickered to life, showing faint outlines of figures in motion, shadows frozen mid-step as if paused by some ancient force. The air shimmered with a gentle vibration, the hum growing louder, more precise. A thrill ran through Elias, mingled with fear. He was alone, yet not alone. Every instinct screamed that the ship was alive, but alive in a way that defied logic. He realized he could speak, and the ship would respond. Not every word, not every tone, but his voice. His human voice had a resonance, a key that no alien or machine could replicate. "Show me," he said softly, almost as if inviting it. The floor beneath him shifted, lifting slightly, guiding him toward a massive chamber ahead. When he entered, the space opened like a cathedral. The walls were lined with strange, translucent panels that seemed to float in midair. At the center, a pedestal rose from the floor, glowing faintly with internal energy. Elias approached cautiously, feeling the vibrations of the ship sync with his heartbeat. It was as if the vessel itself was testing him, reading not just his actions, but his intent. One wrong move, one misstep, and the entire structure might collapse or worse, reject him entirely. He knelt before the pedestal and placed the sphere down. Immediately, the holographic figures in the panels flickered to life. They were humanoid, yes, but not human. Their features were alien, their movements precise, yet their eyes seemed to plead. And then a voice, subtle, almost a whisper in his mind, goad, "Speak. Only a human may awaken what is ours." Elias froze, the weight of the realization settling in. The ship was ancient, powerful, and aware. It had been waiting for someone like him, someone whose voice and mind could navigate what no alien or machine could comprehend. He took a deep breath. "I will try," he said, and felt the ship shift in response, the corridors and panels pulsing, as if acknowledging his promise. The adventure had only just begun. The ship had recognized him, and in doing so, had opened a door to mysteries far beyond. The chamber was alive with light and hum, but not in the way a machine should be. It wasn't blinking indicators or simple circuits, it was subtle, flowing, responsive. As Elias stepped forward, the walls seemed to ripple, reflecting not just his image, but the shape of the room shifting slightly with each movement. He felt watched, studied, and yet strangely welcomed. "Hello?" His voice echoed, bouncing off the metallic walls. And for the first time, it seemed as though the chamber itself responded with intent. The soft harmonic hum intensified, shaping itself into a tone that matched the cadence of his words. A holographic panel flickered to life above the pedestal. Alien figures, humanoid yet undeniably foreign, moved in fluid patterns, frozen mid-action. Their eyes they could be called eyes, glowed faintly, as if waiting. The sphere he had found, earlier pulsed in response, projecting light into the room in streams that traced impossible geometries across the walls. Elias realized that the ship wasn't just reacting, it was communicating. It understood him, or at least, it recognized something uniquely human. "Can you understand me?" His voice was tentative. The hum shifted again, harmonizing with the tones of his speech. A low vibration ran along the floor, through his boots, rising into his chest like the echo of some deep, ancient organ. Then, almost imperceptibly, a pattern appeared on the pedestal, a series of symbols that mirrored the way he had spoken, as if the ship had converted his words into its own language. The realization hit him hard. The ship responded to him because he was human. No alien intelligence could have done this. No artificial system could read intent the way he did. His voice, his presence was a key, unlocking pathways and systems that had been dormant for centuries. With cautious steps, Elias followed the corridor that opened before him. Walls shifted subtly, narrowing and widening in response to his pace. At every turn, holographic panels flickered, showing fragmented images of the ship's past crew. They were humanoid, but alien in appearance, caught in frozen moments of work, study, and command. And then he noticed the chilling part. Some panels displayed systems in failure, crew members frozen in suspended animation, waiting for someone like him to awaken them. He approached one of the panels and spoke aloud, naming his intent. "I'm here to help." The air seemed to thrum with acknowledgement. Panels along the walls pulsed in sequence, forming lines of light that stretched toward the ceiling. Then, without warning, a hidden compartment hissed open, revealing a console that had been dormant for centuries. He reached out and placed a hand on it. Immediately, the ship reacted not violently, but deliberately. Lights cascaded along the walls, corridors realigned, and the chamber itself seemed to breathe. It was an awareness unlike anything Elias had encountered. It wasn't simply programmed. It was alive in a way that required a human to unlock its purpose. And then he heard it. Not with his ears, not with the panels, but in his Minda voice, soft and resonant, threading through the hum of the ship. "You are the first to awaken us. Speak, human. Only through your voice will the path open." Elias froze. The weight of the moment pressed on him like gravity. He wasn't just exploring. He was being tested, evaluated on instinct, intent, and courage. Every choice, every word he spoke, mattered. "All right," he whispered, determination settling into his chest. "I'll do it. I'll understand you." The chamber pulsed in response. Light spiraled upward from the pedestal, illuminating the room in waves of iridescent energy. The ship had recognized him. It had chosen him, and in that recognition, Elias understood something profound. Humanity wasn't just exploring the stars, it was awakening them, and whatever lay ahead, the ship's intelligence would follow the path only a human voice could create. The chamber hummed like a living organism, the light spiraling around Elias in patterns that defied logic. Every step he took seemed to ripple through the walls, and he realized the ship was no longer just observing, it was testing him. A corridor opened ahead, wider now, but lined with unfamiliar machinery. Panels slid in and out, revealing strange angular instruments that hummed with potential energy. He could see drones suspended mid-air, their optics flickering as they rotated slowly, as though studying him. Each movement he made seemed to provoke subtle changes, the floor tilting slightly, panels shifting, lights dimming and brightening in response to his presence. "All right," Elias muttered, gripping the console on the pedestal for balance. "If this is a test, let's see what you've got." The ship responded immediately. Sections of the floor retracted, revealing a series of raised platforms. One misstep, and he would fall into darkness or worse, into unknown machinery. A low hum resonated through his chest, warning him, guiding him subtly. His pulse quickened. This wasn't just a challenge of agility, it was a challenge of perception. instinct, and resolve. As he stepped forward, the platforms shifted beneath his weight. A beam of light flickered along the walls, creating corridors that twisted and bent, forcing him to anticipate changes before they happened. Drones hovered around him, scanning, not attacking but watching, recording, evaluating. Then came the first real test. A laser grid, invisible at first, hummed to life across the path ahead. Elias froze, feeling the air vibrate, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. He whispered a word aloud, almost instinctively, and the grid responded, pausing for a fraction of a second. That fraction was enough. He leaped, landing on the next platform as the lasers reactivated behind him. The thrill of survival mingled with awe. This wasn't just a machine. It was alive, attuned to him, adapting in real time, learning how he moved, how he thought. Every jump, every choice, was acknowledged. The ship wasn't testing strength, it was testing humanity, beyond the grid. Another corridor opened. Zero-gravity chambers floated before him, with panels and cubes twisting mid-air. He had to navigate them, timing movements with voice commands and instinct. One wrong move, one misjudgment, and he would drift helplessly into darkness. But the ship subtly shifted in response to his hesitations, adjusting to his intent, teaching him rather than punishing. And then came the voice, soft, resonant, threading through the hum. Intent guides action. Courage guides intent. Only the human mind can complete this path. Elias swallowed hard. He realized the trial wasn't just physical, it was moral, cognitive, and emotional. The ship had been dormant for centuries, waiting for someone capable of choice, judgment, and restraint, and it had recognized him as that someone. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he crossed the final gap, landing on solid ground with a jolt. The room responded with a cascade of lights, a wave of warmth and energy that seemed almost like applause. The drones stilled, panels realigned, and the corridors straightened. The ship acknowledged his success. He leaned against a wall, breathing hard, feeling the weight of what he'd just accomplished. It was testing me, he whispered, not just to see if I could survive, but if I could understand. A soft pulse ran along the floor, and the pedestal in the center glowed brighter than before. The ship had learned something about him and he about it. He wasn't just a visitor. He was a participant in an awakening, a human presence unlocking the potential of a machine older than the stars around him. Elias straightened, voice steady this time. I understand. I will do whatever it takes. The ship seemed to hum in acknowledgement, its corridors flowing and bending in anticipation. The tests were only beginning, and the challenges ahead promised danger, but also discovery. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now Elias was proving why humans could awaken forces that no alien intelligence could predict. The corridors opened into a vast chamber, unlike anything Elias had seen. The ceiling arched impossibly high, shimmering like liquid metal under faint, pulsing lights. Panels of translucent material floated mid-air, each displaying fragmented images of a civilization long gone. The air vibrated faintly, carrying a low hum that seemed almost musical. Echoing through the enormous space, Elias stepped cautiously forward, drawn to the largest panel in the center. The holographic display shifted to reveal a city of towers, spiraling into the sky, connected by bridges that glowed with energy. Tiny figures moved along them, humanoid, yes, but their forms were alien. Yet there was a familiarity to their gestures, a resonance that spoke across species and centuries. He muttered aloud, "Who were you?" His voice echoed against the metallic walls, and the display responded, flickering and pulsing as if listening. Words were not transmitted, yet meaning flowed into his mind, a story of brilliance and hubris, of a civilization that had reached beyond its grasp and paid the ultimate price. The ship hummed beneath his feet, guiding him deeper into the chamber. Holograms of the alien crew appeared in suspended animation, frozen mid-task. Elias noticed something chilling. Some of their stasis pods were empty, their occupants vanished. Others contained figures motionless, their faces peaceful but lifeless, awaiting a hand to awaken them. A voice echoed softly, resonating in the chamber. Only one like you, only a human, may choose what we could not. Elias felt the weight of that statement. This ship wasn't merely a machine. It was a guardian, a repository of a civilization that had trusted no other species to inherit its knowledge or its power. And it had chosen him. He approached a central console, the alien sphere he had discovered earlier floating in a containment field above it. As he touched it, the light pulsed, casting elongated shadows that stretched across the walls. Streams of data flowed through his vision: architecture, star charts, energy systems, and weaponry far beyond human comprehension. He realized that the ship had been waiting for someone capable of understanding, not just operating the legacy it carried. Suddenly, the hum deepened. Panels along the walls flickered, displaying scenes of conquest and destruction. The aliens had built wonders, yes, but also weapons capable of annihilating planets. Elias's pulse quickened as he understood the moral crossroads before him. The ship's power was immense, and it would respond to him alone. He could take it for himself, claim its strength, and dominate, or preserve its guardianship and protect the galaxy. He whispered, voice firm despite the tension. I won't misuse it. The chamber vibrated with acknowledgement. Lights pulsed, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. The ship had sensed intent, and it had approved. Then came the final, chilling revelation. A section of the chamber opened, revealing a long corridor lined with dormant drones and weapon systems. Each hovered silently, waiting for a command that only a human could authorize. The ship had given him the responsibility of choice, protector or conqueror. Ilias's breath caught. The galaxy would never forgive a human who chose recklessness, but the ship had chosen to trust him. He realized that humanity's value wasn't just survival, adaptability, or strength. It was judgment. The ability to make the right choice when faced with overwhelming power. Stepping back, he looked at the holographic figures, the empty stasis pods, and the city of the lost civilization. I understand, he said softly. I'm here to protect what remains, to honor what you've built. The lights brightened, flowing across the chamber like a river of liquid energy. The hum became a song, a subtle, triumphant resonance that wrapped around Elias, welcoming him into a covenant between human and machine. The ship had awakened. The lost civilization had entrusted their legacy to a human, and Elias realized, in that charged moment of connection and suspense, that humanity had just proven why it could never be underestimated. Elias had barely absorbed the weight of the ship's trust when his sensors flared. Shadows moved across the edge of the system, no small vessels, but a fleet. Alien ships, sleek and predatory, cutting through the void with engines that glowed like molten metal. They weren't exploring, they were hunting. A cold shiver ran down Ilias's spine. The derelict had drawn attention, and now the galaxy's predators had come. He gripped the pedestal, feeling the vibrations ripple through the floor. The ship responded instantly, corridors shifting, lights cascading in rhythmic pulses, as if whispering, "Are you ready?" He was, and yet uncertainty gnawed at him. Every instinct screamed caution. He could command the ship, but it wasn't fully his. Its full capabilities, powerful, ancient, unpredictable, would only respond if it trusted his intent, and intent alone wouldn't keep him alive. The first alien vessel appeared in the viewport. Massive and angular, weapons glowing ominously. Elias spoke aloud, voice firm, steady, despite the adrenaline. I mean to defend, not attack. Protect, not conquer. The ship reacted immediately. Drones rose from hidden compartments, forming intricate defensive patterns. Energy fields shimmered along the hull, and panels slid open to reveal arrays of weapons, perfectly synchronized with the human operator hymn. The alien ships opened fire, a cascade of destructive beams slicing through the void, but the derelict moved with impossible fluidity, its corridors bending in response to Ilias's commands, creating openings and blind spots the invaders couldn't predict. Every maneuver was not just strategy, it was instinct, amplified by the ship's responsiveness to human thought and voice. He spoke again, words barely above a whisper. "Guide me." And the ship did. Lights pulsed along the corridors, subtly shaping the internal energy flow to optimize every defensive system. It wasn't just obeying, it was learning, adapting to him, to his thought patterns, to his human intuition. One vessel breached the perimeter, maneuvering for a lethal strike. Ilias's pulse spiked. He shouted instructions aloud, his voice slicing through the hum of the ship. The derelict twisted, shifting geometry in impossible angles, trapping the intruder in an energy net. The alien ship erupted in a silent, contained explosion, debris scattering harmlessly into the void. A thrill coursed through him, tempered by the realization that the battle had only begun. Another wave approached, faster and more precise. The fleet was calculating, adapting, but so was the ship, attuned exclusively to him. Every choice he made, every instinct he followed, was amplified. The aliens couldn't anticipate it. Humans were unpredictable, and that was the advantage. Elias's mind raced, voice steady but commanding. "Don't let them corner us. Use the corridors. Flow with me." The ship responded like a living being, corridors bending, panels shifting, drones weaving a lattice of defense and offense. The alien fleet struggled, unable to read the ship's transformations, unable to counter human intuition, amplified through this ancient intelligence. Finally, the last ship faltered, trapped in a corridor that seemed to twist endlessly, energy barriers rising around it like walls of light. The fleet retreated, shadows dissolving into the blackness of space. Silence returned, but it was a tense, waiting silence. Charged with residual energy, Elias sank to one knee, breathing hard, sweat damp on his brow. The ship pulsed softly beneath him, a quiet acknowledgement of success. He had not only survived, but triumphed through human ingenuity, instinct, and moral clarity. The derelict had trusted him, and he had proven that trust was not misplaced. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now the proof floated in the void, a human mind commanding a machine older than the stars, capable of defending itself against an entire alien fleet. And Elias knew this was only. The void had returned to deceptive calm, but Elias knew better. The derelict was no longer just a ship, it was a living force, responding not only to his commands, but to his thoughts, his instincts, his human intuition. Every corridor, panel, and drone pulsed with life, synchronized with the rhythm of his decisions. Ahead, the ship shifted, transforming before his eyes. Hull plates twisted and realigned, energy conduits arching into patterns that seemed impossible for human engineering, entirely responsive to him. It was no longer a vessel of exploration. It had become a fortress, a weapon, and a guardian all at once. The alien fleet had seen only a derelict drifting in the void. Now they would face something entirely new. Elias climbed to the command platform, his voice steady as he addressed the ship. "Prepare for their return. Use everything we've learned, everything I've taught you with my voice." The air vibrated, corridors bending, lights cascading in complex sequences. Drones rose, forming defensive lattice and offensive strikes, moving in patterns that no alien could predict. The first wave returned, larger and more calculated. Their engines glowed like molten embers as they closed in, but the derelict shifted, its hull bending, extending, twisting its geometry alive. It was a dance, and Elias led. Each command, each instinctive choice, amplified through the ship's systems. creating maneuvers that defied physics, yet adhered perfectly to human intuition. "Engage the left flank," he shouted, voice resonating through the hull. Energy streams arced along the outer corridors, forming barriers and traps. Alien vessels tried to predict his movements, but the ship was already ahead, anticipating, adapting, flowing with him. Every maneuver was instinctual, yet precise, a testament to the human mind's unpredictability amplified through alien technology. One ship charged directly at them, weapons primed to annihilate. Elias whispered instructions, almost as if speaking to a partner rather than a machine. The derelict twisted in response, bending its corridors, channeling the attack harmlessly through energy barriers, then snapping the vessel into a containment field. The alien ship erupted in controlled detonation, a light show of destruction contained entirely within the derelict's geometry. Another wave attempted to flank. Faster, smarter. Elias's mind raced, analyzing patterns, anticipating instinctively. He commanded the drones with a mixture of voice and subtle gestures, weaving them into formations that funneled the attackers into traps they couldn't comprehend. Alien ships collided, energy beams misfired, and chaos reigned, yet none of it threatened the derelict. Every move was orchestrated by human creativity, human intuition, human courage. Finally, the last vessel faltered, trapped in a twisting corridor that seemed to extend infinitely, energy walls rising around it like a cage of light. Its engines flared, but there was no escape. The alien fleet retreated, shadows dissolving into the black void. Silence returned, heavy and expectant. Elias sank into the command chair, sweat dripping from his brow, heart pounding. The ship pulsed beneath him, a living entity acknowledging his success. It had trusted a human, and that trust had been proven. Humanity's unpredictability, creativity, and moral clarity had transformed the derelict into a force no alien intelligence could anticipate. He realized then, fully and with awe, what the ship represented. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, assuming brute strength or advanced technology alone determined outcomes. But here was proof that human ingenuity, intuition, and ethical decision-making could awaken and wield power far beyond imagination. Elias leaned back, voice soft but firm. "We've done it. Together." The ship responded with a low, harmonious hum, corridors shifting subtly, as if echoing agreement. In the silence, he understood a truth deeper than strategy or survival. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't machines, fleets, or weapons. It was the mind, the voice, the courage to act rightly when faced with the unknown. The derelict had awakened, but more than that, it had recognized him, and in recognizing humanity, it had transformed the cosmos forever. The void was quiet, deceptively so. The alien fleet had retreated, but Elias knew the galaxy would not forget this encounter. Still, as he stood on the command platform, gazing at the stars stretching infinitely before him, he realized the battle had never been just about survival. It had been about understanding, about proving that a human mind could awaken forces beyond reckoning and wield them responsibly. The ship pulsed beneath him, corridors flowing like liquid light, every surface responsive to his presence. Holographic panels flickered, showing images of the lost civilization he had glimpsed before, their cities, their brilliance, their hubris. They had built wonders, yes, but left them for someone capable of judgment, someone who could understand. The responsibility of power. Elias approached the central pedestal, the alien sphere hovering silently. His voice echoed softly through the chamber. "I understand now. This power, this ship, it isn't mine to conquer. It's mine to protect." The ship responded, corridors bending, lights shimmering like water under moonlight, panels aligned into geometric patterns that lifted into the air, forming a protective lattice around the vessel. The sphere glowed brightly, casting long shadows across the walls, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's heartbeat. It was acknowledgement, affirmation, and a promise all at once. Then, a new hum resonated, subtle but insistent. A hidden compartment opened at the far end of the chamber, revealing stasis pods those Elias had glimpsed before, containing the frozen crew of the ancient civilization. For the first time, he felt the weight of true responsibility. These beings had been waiting centuries for a human capable of awakening the ship. He stepped closer, speaking aloud, "I will guide them safely. I will ensure their legacy does not become another catastrophe." The pods hissed open one by one, releasing the figures slowly, carefully, as if the ship itself orchestrated their revival. The humanoid aliens looked around, their eyes wide, with recognition and wonder. But it was Ilias's voice, the human voice, that had activated the process. Outside, the ship's hull shimmered with an otherworldly light. It had transformed fully, no longer a derelict, but a living fortress, a guardian of knowledge and power. Elias felt the hum flow through him, a resonance that went beyond sound or touch, a connection between human and machine, mind and intent. He took a step back, breathing deeply, and spoke softly, almost reverently. "You were waiting for a human, not to command, but to understand, and I am honored to be that voice." The ship pulsed once, twice, then a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, as if acknowledging him. It had learned that humans were unpredictable, creative, and capable of moral judgment. That recognition was the key. No alien fleet, no technological advantage, no brute force could replicate it. Humanity had proven its worth not through conquest, but through integrity, intuition, and courage. For a long moment, Elias simply stood there, the glow of the ship illuminating his face. He understood that this encounter would change the galaxy forever. The derelict was no longer a relic, it was a sentinel, awakened by humanity, bound to protect and guide, capable of responding only to those who shared Ilias's intent and vision. Finally, he turned toward the exit, leaving behind a recorded message for future explorers. The ship awaits those who speak with purpose, act with integrity, and understand the responsibility of power. Only a human voice can awaken what lies dormant in the cosmos. As he stepped into the shuttle, the ship pulsed one last time, corridors bending subtly to create a path to the docking bay. It hummed his name, a silent acknowledgement, a bond between human and machine that no alien intelligence could comprehend. And in that instant, Elias realized the truth. Humanity's voice, courage, and judgment were more than survival tools. They were the key to awakening the galaxy itself. The void might have seemed empty, but with a human presence, it had become alive, responsive, and profoundly aware. The derelict drifted once more, serene and sentient, a testament to what humans